Hello, and welcome to the Why Wasn't It Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
And this is a very special episode, Anton. It's something we haven't done before.
Yeah, it's a very special and fun episode. It's a fun new format, right?
It is. We're not covering a film. We're doing something that a listener asked us about a long time ago, which is, would we ever do some kind of a ranking episode where we ranked something, a series, the films of a certain director. Someone asked us to rank all of the Marvel films, and we actually considered doing that, but
That'd be a long, long episode.
well, it would be a long, long episode, and also I didn't want to rank something that we haven't covered all of them yet.
That's fair. But today's subject matter, we have covered each one.
We have. We recently reviewed A View to a Kill, which was Roger Moore's last entry as James Bond. And I thought this was the perfect opportunity because now we actually have covered every single Roger Moore Bond movie. So why not rank them? There's 7 of them, so it's a pretty decent list to work off of. It's not like it's not like you're ranking a trilogy or just a handful of films, right? Like 7's a pretty meaningful number. So yeah, we're going to try this out. We don't have a lot of notes. This is going to be a lot of us just mostly, I say there's going to be a lot of rambling.
Yeah, a lot of rambling, a lot of, we're going to be doing a lot of riffing.
Yeah. Just think of this as easy listening.
Yeah, this is just a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, every episode's a good time, really.
Every episode's a good time, but let's be real. I mean, some films are more fun to talk about than others.
Yeah, it's very fair. But I think it's always great when we get to talk about Bond, right?
They're always fun, good, bad, or mediocre. There's always stuff to talk about with Bond, especially Roger Moore. So if the listeners like this ranking format that we do, we will do more. And I will put some kind of what would the YouTube feature be? The polling feature. Do you want more of these? Yes or no? So I'll put that up. I'm not even going to bother doing it on Twitter because we have no real Twitter presence. Not even worth it. The Twitter thing X. It's not called Twitter anymore.
We'll see how long the platform lasts.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a Twitter. We use it. I don't really know why. Like I said, we don't have much of a presence on there, but we do it just for the sake of doing it. But before we get into the ranking part of it, just a reminder that we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWIB official. You can find us there. We have various levels of subscription that you can subscribe to. If you want to get access to our episodes a week early and ad-free, then become a patron. There's higher tiers that will allow you even greater access to things like you will get to request a film of your choosing.
Ooh, that seems like a very fun perk.
Yeah, one of our patrons has already made use of that when we did Troy last season.
You hear that, folks? You want to make us review a bad film?
Or a good film. It's whatever film you want.
Or a good film.
Yeah, because we, despite the name of the podcast, a lot of stuff we review is good.
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of the fun of this show is that we like to keep things and our audiences on their toes. So let's continue with that same theme, and we have today's fun Roger Moore Bond film ranking.
Roger Moore appeared in 7 films, starting with Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, and A View to a Kill. Live and Let Die came out in 1973. A View to a Kill came out in 1985. So he was Bond for 12 years. Just some really quick factoids. He was 45 when he was cast as Bond and 57 when he retired, making him the oldest actor to play the character.
I mean, it's impressive. Definitely stuck with it. But even when you think of Daniel Craig, what was that? Was that about a decade of Bond for him?
No, about 15 years. He was technically Bond for the longest.
Yeah. So that's really interesting to see just how much I think Roger Moore drastically aged compared to Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig had the advantage of being younger. I think he was 30.
It's true.
38 when he first played Bond at Casino Royale. When he retired, I think he was 51. And I think the other obvious part is that Daniel Craig was by far the most in shape James Bond.
I don't know. Pierce Brosnan looks like he's pretty fit.
No, not like Daniel Craig. Think how ripped Daniel Craig was in Skyfall.
To be fair, I might just be mesmerized by Pierce Brosnan's chest hair.
I think Pierce Brosnan was the hairiest Bond.
Yeah. Oh,
You'd think
for
Connery,
sure.
but I think it's low
No,
key Brosnan.
it was Brosnan for sure.
Roger Moore was actually close to being the first official James Bond back in 1962, but the producers didn't really want the character to be associated with a TV actor at the time. Because remember, he was Simon Templar in The Saint. It's really interesting how that would have worked out if he had become Bond, the first Bond.
It would have been a very different series, and who knows what a course correction would have been after him, right?
Can you imagine if he was Bond all the way from Dr. No to A View to a Kill?
That would be nuts.
Be weird.
Then is just the next iteration of Bond much more hyper-violent, Timothy Dalton?
Maybe. I mean, who knows how that would have turned out. It's not a world I want to live in, frankly.
No, I'm appreciative of the timeline that we've had.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate. At least until recently. And,
So-
speaking of Bond, doesn't sound like Amazon is handling this well with the Broccoli estate.
No, still in contention with whenever that next film, if ever, is going to be released or worked on even.
I personally would, this may shock you, but, or no, actually, I don't think this will shock you. I would rather get no Bond film ever again than see it ruined with like dumb streaming series. And I'm thinking of all the horrible things that Disney did to Star Wars. I would just rather never get another Bond.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would also I do want another Bond, but I don't know if I'd want it at the cost of watering down the IP.
Oh, I want another Bond, but
I know, yeah, and like I think I'm very conflicted. So I do lean where you're standing. I would absolutely rather just enjoy what we already have versus seeing, like, heaven forbid, a direct to streaming Bond series or a Bond movie. Like, that's when you know it's done.
that's what the studio wanted to do with No Time to Die during the pandemic, and the Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson held firm. They're like, no, this gets a theater release or nothing.
Yep.
So, but all right, let's rank these Roger Moores.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do kind of a round robin thing where we're gonna start with the worst and go all the way up to the best. I've heard this format on other podcasts and I quite like it, where we both name our films and we won't actually discuss one until we both name the film.
Okay, so let's start with the least ranked. So I'll start. I can start. My least, or where I rank the least among Roger Moore Bond films.
Your seventh one.
Yeah, number 7, Man with a Golden Gun.
I'm right there with you with Man with the Golden Gun. I have that ranked the worst as well. So we can talk about Man with the Golden Gun. Both of us gave this a D+.
Yeah. Now, I'll talk more about what I ranked above it when we get there. But I think that there's so much to look at with Man of the Golden Gun, and like I still appreciate it even though I ranked it at 7.
It has its moments, but it's a real sophomore slump for Roger Moore. It's a clunker. It's pretty boring.
Yeah, compared to Live and Let Die, there is definitely a we talked about this, the pacing is much slower. It's also a very weird film, or at least like the film
It's definitely a weird film.
the film it really leverages trends of the time, right? All of we talked about the kung fu exploitation, exotic Asian areas that they ended up landing in.
Foo Yuck Wine.
Yeah. Bears, clowns.
There's clowns in that movie?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, there's clowns in another Roger Moore movie.
Yeah.
No, but there are sumo wrestlers.
That's
there's
right.
a karate school. There's
Because there has to be.
Knick-knack Tabasco.
Yep, there's some knick-knack in there. And
there's Chu Mi, the naked Asian woman that he meets who's in a pool. Her name's Chu Mi.
Yep. But like I think that when we think about like the formula that's been built around up to this point in the Bond series, it still hits a lot of those same beats. We got exotic locations, we got the Bond girls, we got an incredible villain, of course, played by Christopher Lee.
He is the best part about the movie, him and Knick-knack. And that's kind of why I have this ranked the least of all the Moores is because I don't really care for Roger Moore that much in the film. If you remember, he's in some pretty awkward situations where he slaps Maud Adams and he doesn't look comfortable doing it. And
Yeah,
it does follow the Bond formula, but you said it earlier how weird it is between this and Live and Let Die. Those are pretty two strange films to start off your tenure with if you're Roger Moore.
and good on the self-awareness at least of the future of the series, where how do you course correct, how do you think about how Roger Moore even just characterizes Bond, what is his Bond versus Sean Connery's Bond. So
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the Bonds I return to the least. I think you mentioned the pacing, also the plot. The low stakes, like the Solex agitator thing.
Yep.
That it's pretty. It's just I don't find it that fun.
Yeah, and I think there are entertainment. The most entertaining thing for me is thinking about how I feel like this film has some of the best potential in terms of pitting James Bond against one of his greatest foes. We got some of that, but I really do think a stronger film really would have consistently had a Scaramanga face-off that probably could have been more of a focal point.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the concept of Bond squaring off against a super assassin is compelling. But
cool.
The whole way it plays out in the movie where Maud Adams' character mails Bond the bullet, and then it also just happens to be that Scaramanga is the one who's involved in the Solex agitator thing, which is what Bond, his mission originally was. It's a pretty dumb plot contrivance. We talked about that with Garrett, who was our guest on the episode. Shout out to Garrett.
Shout out Garrett.
It's just, it does have some of my favorite moments, though. I love Knick Knack.
Mm-hmm. Knick Knack's fun.
I mean, the Funhouse thing is memorable, but kind of dumb.
We've already seen, it's funny how we've seen enough martial arts films that use mirrors, right?
Yeah, there was mirrors in that. Yeah, there's just, I don't know. It's even the worst Bonds have their moments, and this does.
Yeah, there's still some iconic moments. And then, of course, I wouldn't be a great Venture Bros fan if I didn't mention all of the references to the amazing Venture Brothers episodes that this is from. Very clearly, Scaramantula. I don't know if you remember that character.
I do.
Scaramantula's Island, very clearly inspired from this. So it has its place in influencing pop culture.
Yeah, it does.
And the Golden Gun is a one-shot kill weapon in GoldenEye.
It is. Also, before we move on, because I think we can, no coincidence that it almost ended the series because it did not do well at the box office at all. And it is seen as a low point. I'm with the consensus on that. Mm-hmm. You are too. All right. Time to list your sixth.
Okay, number 6. I went for, do you want to go next or?
You can keep going.
Okay. So for me, number 6, I have to go A View to a Kill.
I'm on the fence here.
Okay.
I have A View to a Kill and Moonraker ranked the same. I know you do too, with a C-, and I'm on the fence here.
Yeah. No, that's fair because they're actually very in step together for me.
Yeah, and I think I can only speak for myself. I was being polite by giving A View to a Kill a C-. There's a lot of D stuff in that movie.
There really is.
I'll talk View to a Kill with you now. I'll say View to a Kill.
Okay. So we got A View to a Kill. And that is a bizarre that is a bizarre movie.
It's a weird movie. I mean, the elephant in the room is Moore was just way too old. He shouldn't have been in this.
Yep. There were definitely certain scenes where I got him confused with a couch.
A well-dressed couch, but yes.
A well-dressed couch. But I think that it just became too much of an age disparity with any of the Bond girls.
Yeah, him and Tanya Roberts. He was older than her mother.
Yeah.
Tanya Roberts, not a highlight either in that film, even though she's hot.
Right.
Christopher Walken, again, just like with Man with the Golden Gun, we get an awesome villain.
And also one of the best henchmen in the series, Grace Jones.
Yeah, Mayday. Yeah.
Mayday.
And Scarpine.
And
what's the doctor's name with the monocle? Carl Mortner.
That's a iconic name.
Yeah. I mean, the blimp climax where him and Scarpine are fighting over the dynamite is you agreed with me. It's one of the funniest things in any movie we've ever seen.
Yeah, not just in Bond films, but it's one of the funniest sequences in film. And I think
It shouldn't have been.
it shouldn't have been. But I there's so much that this film had going for it. I like listeners know I love Bay Area and San Francisco based films, and it has some really, really great shots here. And
Oh,
also
yeah.
the set design's incredible, basically building that portion of the Golden Gate Bridge. But
It has a great climax.
yeah,
It does.
but the fact that the pacing on this thing was so uneven, I just got really bored at certain points. And what do you know? It involved horse racing. And then as soon as they got out of San Francisco,
Yeah, it's a clunker. Like I said, I think I gave it a C minus, and I was being polite.
yeah, I think the more that I think about this film, I realize that if I can identify at least the nostalgic feelings of enjoyment when I watch it, I have to always check myself because it is entertaining. It is absolutely entertaining. So I hope that like ranking it at number 6 doesn't take away from that. But
I think it deserves to be ranked number 6.
but like objectively, it's a number 6
Well,
on
like
the list.
all the stuff you can dance around. Like, yes, we like a bunch of things about it, but like him being too old for the role, it is fair to criticize that because he's in every scene.
I don't know if we talked about this a bit, but the film is a bit dated as well, and it felt like it, yeah, it's just so obvious. But
the spy robot, the microchip plot that's ripped
Spy
off from
robot,
Goldfinger,
microchip,
the Duran Duran title song, which is dated in the best way.
the fashion,
They put him in a tracksuit.
the leg warmers.
Yeah. Do you remember when him and Tippett, played by Patrick McNee, are fighting the elderly stuntmen in the warehouse? And like,
Yep.
for whatever reason, Roger Moore is wearing a velour tracksuit.
Yeah,
But that Duran Duran song, my goodness.
yeah, and like that's what top 3 Bond song.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we're going to have to rank the Bond songs at one point.
that'll be good.
That's going to be a fun episode. Yeah, View to a Kill. Let's not forget about Iceberg Boat.
Love Boat.
The sex boat, yeah.
There's no love on that boat,
No love on that. Or a shower.
but there's a lot of vodka and caviar. But did they have ice?
Well, they were in like Siberia, so I mean, they could just tons of ice outside.
I
Right.
can just imagine how badly they smelled. I don't want to, but I can only imagine.
There's like polyester couches in there.
It's just what is it? It just becomes like a Pavlov's dog. Whenever she like looks up and sees like the Union Jack, she'll always remember her time at like the Love Boat.
It was the last for Roger Moore. It was the last for Lois Maxwell, who was, of course, Moneypenny from the start of the series. So
Yeah, it was we had a really cool like what is it reunion at the racehorse.
the Royal Ascot,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
where they all looked the same age, more or less. A View to a Kill.
Was this Q's most perverted film?
It maybe he ends up seeing Bond have sex at the end of the movies in Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, this one, The World Is Not Enough. Remember when he has them on satellite?
Yeah. It's just like this just becomes his thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So there's a lot of weird stuff in the movie. The whole hot tub sequence that was thrown. It's a pretty long movie too. It had the same kind of pacing problems that Man with the Golden Gun did too.
Mm-hmm.
2 blimps, not one, but 2 blimps.
Airships.
Right. Well, one of them was a blimp. We agreed on that. One of them was an airship. The other one was a blimp. Zorin had a whole fleet.
Zorin, lost opportunity. No, I was never convinced he was a super intelligent test tube baby.
No, this has a similar issue with Man with the Golden Gun, where you're like, the concept of the villain is a great one, and the performance from the actor who played the villain is a great one, but there's still a lot more that could have been done.
Yeah, I'm sure. And actually, the more I think about it, I think there is limited series that feature the Scaramanga's assassin work.
What is there?
I thought there was a comic book.
Oh, there might have been. Yeah, might have been. I'm sure Amazon's trying to peddle that.
I mean, I wouldn't see what Amazon's pushing, but like I would be interested in seeing like kind of world building around what makes these Bond villains where they are. Like, how did he get an island? That's pretty cool.
It's not that some of the ideas that Amazon wanted to do aren't compelling. It's just, if you think about how many franchise IPs are oversaturated, and I really, really respect Barbara Broccoli for just wanting to stick to the traditional, like, no, we just make theatrical movies. That's what we do.
Yep. No, that's fair.
Next.
Move on. Number 5, which already kind of a given. We talked about it.
Moonraker.
Moonraker. Oh man, this movie's now in the sense compared to the previous two, I think the pacing was much better in this film.
Yes, I still think it's long. The reason why I put this ahead of A View to a Kill is a couple reasons. Number one, it's still peak prime Roger Moore. Number two, as stupid as Moonraker is, it's very entertaining.
Hugely entertaining.
It's very memorable.
Like, Hugo Drax is not the best Bond villain of all time,
but I like him.
But I like him.
Yeah, I like Michael Lonsdale.
Yeah, and talk about iconic and influential, but the costuming just...
Well, it's the last contribution that Ken Adam made to the series, and he goes out with a bang because the sets are incredible.
Sets are incredible. It's science fact.
Science fact. It's just a fun movie. I find it very, very watchable, even though I gave it a C-, because it inevitably, I do think it's a little long, and it has maybe, like we talked about it with Kai, our guest, it has 2 boat chases, which is, did you need 2?
It's excessive. And then they go to space.
They go to space.
Yeah.
The best thing about the film too is, there's 2 things. Number one, an incredible John Barry score, gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, as dumb as the movie is, it looks amazing. It was a huge budget for 1979. The special effects hold up pretty well, and it's just a beautiful looking movie.
Now I kind of wonder, like, it was at this time. You're right. He was at his peak. I think that the studio was still putting a ton of money budget-wise into the Bond films at the time.
Yes, this had a $36 million budget, which is like 150 today.
Yeah, so we do see the quality on screen, and Moore has also at this point embraced who he is as Bond.
Yes, he had firmly established himself. That was his 4th film. By the way, since you were talking about the budget, something we forgot to mention about View to a Kill, it's pretty cheap looking.
No kidding. Made for TV.
A lot of it, yeah. It's a shame.
It is, but like I feel with Moonraker, especially with just the expansive sets, I'm glad it didn't go cheap because this could have gone really, really bad.
Moonraker is, like I said, it's an awesome looking movie. If there's no other reason to watch it than that, it is made for the big screen. The better the TV, the bigger the TV you have, the better it'll look.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff to enjoy about it. Now, our guest Kai was pretty critical of it. He gave it a D rating, and I get it. It's not a good movie. It's stupid. It's really, really stupid. But it is memorable. I think it's fun. It's got a lot of great lines. It's got Jaws in it, who's pretty entertaining.
Who can't forget about Jaws?
He becomes a good guy at the end.
I was going to say, everyone... Oh, yeah, it was just so entertaining to see Jaws' character arc, too. I love that realization of, wait, are we not accepted on the new society?
Yeah, he's like trying to act. He's like,
wait. It's like the meme, all the math's going on in his head.
Yeah, Bond gets him to flip. It's good. It's good. Good spy work from Bond. Anything else to say about Moonraker?
I think we've touched on most of it. I mean, we already talked about the music. Really love the score.
Great locations.
Influence on pop culture. There's still especially Austin Powers. I think they really looked at Moonraker and were like, we're going to use this for the first Austin Powers.
A lot to like about Moonraker, even though it's, again, C- for me.
Yeah, but still a lot to like.
I apologize to the listeners for my voice. I'm fighting off a cold here.
Are you winning the fight?
Slowly.
Okay.
Surely.
Winning losing some battles, but you'll win the war.
Confident, yeah. All right, what do we got next? Our fourth?
Yeah, number 4. I feel like this is where things start to get a little dicey, but I'm gonna go ahead and just go with Live and Let Die.
Okay. I am gonna go with Octopussy.
Okay.
Yeah. I have Octopussy ranked 4th.
All right.
Now, no discussion there. We have to move on.
No discussion.
What do you got next?
Octopussy.
Okay. I have Live and Let Die. So what do you want to do first?
That's so funny.
Yeah, our lists are clearly pretty close here.
Yeah.
This shouldn't surprise the listeners, I guess. Yeah, we rarely disagree.
Yeah. I think so...
You want to do Live and Let Die first since it was his first one?
Sure. Let's do it. And maybe I can talk you into moving it down or up, or who knows, maybe I concede. But also we have our list.
We don't have to have the same ranking.
Right, it's true. Now, Live and Let Die, at least for me, why I kind of moved it a bit down is that it was still really goofy, but the tone of it was kind of all over the place with Moore still trying to figure out who he is as Bond. But we also have the first Moore film.
What did you
And
rank it?
I ranked it like grade wise, or
Yeah, let me see what you gave it.
I think I gave it.
You gave it a C plus.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is pretty fair for where I'm placing it.
I
now.
wasn't far away. I gave it a B minus.
Yeah, and I think it was also interesting to have, and we saw this continued theme throughout Moore's Bond films, is the studio really pushed for having themes around what was popular at the time, and of course this film clearly it was leaning on blaxploitation.
Yeah, I'm quite fond of this film. This is my third favorite Moore. I think for a debut film, it was unorthodox because of the blaxploitation stuff, but I loved it. Moore hit the ground running here. And I like how, in some ways, it's quite different than Connery's last film, Diamonds Are Forever, although to your point, it's quite campy. I really like Moore's performance in it. I love Jane Seymour as Solitaire. I love Yaphet Kotto as Kananga / Mr. Big. I think he's an awesome villain. I love all the henchmen.
Yep, Mr. Big. The villains in this film are pretty top tier.
They're great. They're great.
And
I like the locations too. We get to see Bond in New York, the only time in the series.
And of course, we get all of the voodoo fun that we get in the film.
Yeah, it's an outlier for that reason. It is the only Bond film to even go near the supernatural with Baron Samedi, and it's pretty cool.
Baron Samedi's so cool.
Because if you remember, they leave it just ambiguous enough where you're never quite sure. Like, is he really supernatural?
Like laughing on the train at the end?
Right. But then that begs the question, did he really die when he hit that casket full of snakes? It's like, I don't know.
But we do get some like goofiness. What is it? We still get J.W. Pepper.
We do. That's the biggest problem of the film for me, because I think the characters aged poorly, and I would say other than that sequence, it's pretty well paced, and the pacing drags in that.
And it's why, for me, I rank it there, is that there's still so much I appreciate about the film, but I think that it's interesting to see that this was the first Roger Moore film. It still did so great, but clearly there was a few things that need to kind of be worked out kink-wise.
I thought you'd rank it higher because it's your favorite song in the series. I mean, good heavens, the title song.
I can still, it's still my favorite song in the series, but I always like to look at everything as like a...
No, that's fair. It's probably one of the Moores I watch the most. I'm quite fond of it. I mean, like I said, B minus, so it has flaws for sure.
Yeah, but it has so much more rewatchability. I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. It looks really good still.
I'm gonna make a case when we cover it eventually. Live and Let Die is less dated than Die Another Day. You can make a case Live and Let Die is less dated than A View to a Kill.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Die Another Day, and I'm excited to watch it because I remember in theaters I was at the age where it was still fun to see Halle Berry, but at the same time I was becoming probably more critical of film because I was getting so distracted by that film and how it didn't make any sense.
Do you remember the speed ramping in it?
Speed ramping?
Yeah, where they speed up stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You get the sound effect, like they do that a lot in that film, which is why I think it's one of the reasons why I think it's so dated. We'll get there. We'll get.
But diamonds encrusted in the face, is that dated?
Stupid.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
You think if the first thing, if he was having DNA replacement therapy to become a German Caucasian man, you think the first thing he would do is have the diamonds removed from his face? That's what I would start with.
He just immediately just starts. I would have just burst out laughing if really early on in the film, while Pierce Brosnan and him are dueling, like they're fencing, he just bursts out in Korean.
You're thinking of the other guy, Gustav Graves.
Yeah, Gustav Graves.
That movie. Back to Moore. So next up, you have Octopussy.
Yes.
I have that I gave that a C. I think you did the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff we liked about Octopussy.
So we did Maud Adams.
We like Maud Adams.
Mhm.
She's not in the movie a lot.
No, but it was a very unique character placement in the film. This was a very curious film in how it featured India.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
A
What
little
is it?
dated in ways. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
The problem that I had with Octopussy, which you pretty much agreed with, was the two villains were memorable, but we couldn't quite figure them out. I'm talking about General Orlov and Kamal Khan, and we really, really enjoyed the overacting of General Orlov.
Yeah, that was super fun.
And another
Now-
5 divisions in Czechoslovakia? The West is decadent and divided.
And I think the whole thing around there's still a lot of nuance with the Soviet Union despite the plot.
Some nuance.
Some.
Did you like the Leonid Brezhnev impersonator on the
Yes.
Politburo?
On the what is it their circle?
Yeah.
Their inner circle.
Yeah. So Pete was our guest for that. The plot of that movie is a goddamn mess. The jewelry caper and the nuclear bomb, and remember we were trying to figure out at what point did the fake egg get replaced with the real egg, and we more or less worked it out, but then we also discovered with a lot of these plots that
It didn't really matter.
No.
And I think like that for me though, there were a few things that really stood out from a pacing standpoint. Again, I really love Maud Adams as Octopussy.
Pacing you know what I've noticed with a lot of these Moors, almost all of them are like 10 minutes too long. Just take out like a little bit here and there, but that would mean like an hour less of Bond, and I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I don't know if we want that.
I don't know if we want that. Octopussy also, we can't forget. This is ultimately why I couldn't really go above C. For all the cool, like East Berlin spy stuff that I enjoy in the second half, which is pretty exciting. This does have some of the lowest moments in the entire series. Like the safari hunt,
little weird.
Him in the gorilla suit, it's pushing the limits. Like I didn't have a problem with him dressed up as a clown because he was trying to defuse a nuclear bomb, and that was pretty intense.
But I think like still certain moments, like what is it? We get first person shooting down the rail.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
That was like I think that's very innovative.
Yeah, but then we also get the Tarzan yell.
We do get the Tarzan yell, which is very questionable.
If you could remove one thing from a Bond movie, would it be that Tarzan yell?
A slide whistle.
We didn't talk about that when we did Man with the Gold. No, we talked about it in the episode. We didn't mention it.
Yeah, we didn't mention it. But we almost didn't have to because we know where it landed.
Last. Yeah, it's not what you want.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff in Octopussy. It's like borderline unforgivable. I still gave it a C. I think there's equal parts good and bad in it for me.
At the same time, I still love Roger Moore's performance. Still very witty, still pretty hilarious.
Should have been his last film.
Serious when he needs to kick it up a notch. I still think in his peak.
It was the end.
Yeah.
He was 55. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the View to a Kill episode with Tom. How would that movie have been better with Dalton in it? And probably.
That's fair.
It would have been written a little differently. It would have been, I think it would have had to have been less campy. But, because look, I mean, Dalton, he only got 2, and most people would agree he deserved more than 2. So, we're at the Dalton era now, because our next Bond episode is going to be Dalton.
Short era.
Can you even call it an era if it's 2 films in 2 years?
I don't know if that's an era.
It's not. I don't think it is.
It's a chapter.
Yeah. And that's nothing against Dalton.
No.
But he only did 2. We'll talk about it on that episode, but he's tough to figure out because you're like, what is his definitive movie? Like which, you know what I mean? Like his 2 films are pretty different. And it's hard to say what his Bond would have been like. Because, most actors hit their stride in their 3rd film, right? Connery had Goldfinger. Moore had A Spy Who Loved Me. Brosnan had The World Is Not Enough. Craig had Skyfall. Dalton never got it.
Yeah. Good question. Very good question.
No way to answer it. Fun to speculate about it.
Something we haven't chatted about. I'm curious. When you play GoldenEye, which Bond do you select?
It's been so long. I usually just went with the first one.
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I always leaned towards choosing Pierce Brosnan.
I think I did too.
Yeah, but then when I was older, I loved playing as Sean Connery. It never made a difference, of course. It actually had never moved anything in the game mechanics. But more so than choosing Bond, I also enjoyed being Oddjob.
Because he was shorter.
Yeah, so a lot of he'd avoid a lot of the attacks.
Anything else to add about Octopussy?
No, I think we're good on to go further up the list. Where are we now? Number 3?
We're in the top 2 now, buddy.
We're in the top 2. Okay.
This is the top tier stuff for more. So
Top
what do you
two.
have second?
I think for number 2, let me see what I had written down. For Your Eyes Only.
Okay. I debated putting that second, but I ultimately went with The Spy Who Loved Me. I have For Your Eyes Only first. So you have that second. I think we can talk about For Your Eyes Only.
Okay.
It's my favorite one.
It is so good. It is such a good film.
And this is a situation for me where I actually will acknowledge I think The Spy Who Loved Me is a better film, much like I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best film of the Indiana Jones series. My favorite is Last Crusade. But I admit Raiders is a better movie. I admit that. I concede that.
It's incredible to see Roger Moore in his full stride in the film. And I feel like where I rank it number 2 is like very like it's almost so minuscule. Like it could be very interchangeable between 1 and 2, right?
Yeah. I get why you have it ranked second.
Yeah.
I do. It's for me, I mean, it's definitely his most serious.
What gives it away that I put it at number 2?
Just there's a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it's my favorite of the Moores is it is the closest that Moore gets to me for the peak Connery years. And it has some goofy moments like BB the skier or the skater, the Margaret Thatcher impersonator at the end, which is just bizarre. It has goofy moments, but for me, I love the set pieces. I like the goofy score. I love Moore's performance. I like the grounded plot. After Moonraker, they really brought things back to Earth, like literally. I just love how it's just this very similar to From Russia with Love. It's a MacGuffin plot. It's pretty easy to follow. Unlike a lot of the plots of the ones we've been talking about, it doesn't really have any holes in it that we could find.
Yeah, not a ton of
straightforward.
Holes. Yeah, and as serious as Roger Moore is in the film and as more serious of a film it is in general, I think it's part of the goofiness of like, why do we have like an ice skater and these rando twins in it?
The twins are in Octopussy.
Oh, right. The ice skater, then BB doll.
She's goofy. Her presence in the film is quite strange. I do like that henchman Locke, though. He never really says anything. The guy with the glasses. It's the Moore film that I watch the most. And great title song.
Yep, great title song.
The score is not the best, but I really like the song.
And it looks really good.
Good looking movie. It's got that awesome car chase. It has the mountain climbing climax. It has Topol.
That's true. I think like the bait and switch too, story wise, of like who the real villain is. That's always interesting.
Yes. It's clever. I gave that an A. It's top tier Bond for me.
Yeah, no doubt. But unless you have anything else you want to say.
No, we can talk about The Spy Who Loved Me.
Spy Who Loved Me.
It's Moore's best film. It's his best performance. It's the best balance of, I think, camp and seriousness that probably the entire series gets to.
It feels like the best balance. It feels like Moore has found who he is, and the film is able to balance well that kind of campy humor, but the action and seriousness needed.
They go big, too. Remember, Man with the Golden Gun didn't go well. Harry Saltzman drops out. That was his final film, right? Because he had weird financial investments that forced him to sell his stake in Bond. Cubby Broccoli gambles big. They get double the budget. And they give us one of the most iconic films in the series.
Very iconic. And it didn't even need the strongest villain, right? I think I remember talking about this, how I was not convinced that this was my favorite villain in the series, but it didn't necessarily need it.
It's a good point, because he is elderly and doesn't do anything physically. Karl Stromberg, of course, played by Kurt Jurgens. His plan is a little weird. It's essentially the same film as Moonraker, both of which are essentially soft remakes of You Only Live Twice.
Yeah, it's like go into the space or go into the water.
Yeah.
Right?
And we all agreed that going to space somehow made more sense than going underwater, which is weird, but it did.
But Carl Stromberg also had like one of the silliest villain outfits.
Which one? He was always in like
Yeah,
tunics and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his whole thing, the Atlantis undersea base that he has, it's just so iconic. It's Ken Adams' best work, probably.
It's elaborate. It's huge. Love the set design here.
And it's the best of the two appearances of Jaws. He's pretty scary in this film. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Jaws in this film was peak, and probably more so what I think about when I think of Jaws.
And of course, Barbara Bach, top tier.
Yeah.
Top tier. Mrs. Ringo Starr.
Yeah, pretty lady.
Well, it's pretty unique for Bond too, because it's one of the few times in the series he gets a counterpart.
That's true.
And it works.
We kind of get a little bit of a hint of like someone capable.
Yeah, and remember, she has a real arc where she is out to avenge her lover, and turns out Bond killed the guy. She has a real story arc.
And Moore's acting chops in this are top notch.
We keep saying the word iconic. Everything about it. Remember, we talked about it. Who was our guest for that? Paul.
And
I think one of the things we talked about on that episode was pretty much every 10 to 15 minutes, something iconic in that movie happens. Whether it's the opening ski sequence, whether it's the submarines getting hijacked, whether it's the Lotus turning into a submarine, whether it's the huge, massive tanker set that they constructed for the film, right? Whether it's filming at the pyramids, that stuff.
The film has it all. And it's amazing to be able to see, especially when we consider Roger Moore had such big shoes to fill when he entered as Bond. And look at the heights that he was able to accomplish. We're talking about some of the most iconic moments in the series.
This was a return to golden era of Bond. Absolutely. I think if you're gonna, this is not going to surprise you. It's like if he deserves to be remembered for any film, even though I like For Your Eyes Only more, it's got to be Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. And it'll always, for me, like watching this film and just thinking about, my favorite Roger Moore film, it just has to be this one. It's just such a very complete film and has everything that I want. Great story, great design, character development. And I feel like that nuance, and at the same time, it touches on the same heart and heartstring pulling that is not done in a way that just seems too melodramatic, right? So everything that we want, everything that we would ever want.
And one of the best title songs in the series. It's an incredible song. Yeah. Nobody does it better. Marvin Hamlish.
But it also has one of the silliest endings.
You mean what kind of rendition of the song? It's like a Broadway.
It's like a chorus line. Like
nobody does. Yeah. I told you that's not on the soundtrack, but for whatever reason, the honky tonk version of Man with the Golden Gun is on the Man with the Golden Gun soundtrack.
That's so funny. Yeah. Even that though, that doesn't ruin it for me. This is still iconic. This is still just so great. I think it just fit at number one, and I totally get it. If for you, like For Your Eyes Only at number one versus over this, I get that too.
So if we're finalizing these rankings, S tier is Spy Who Loved Me and For Your Eyes Only, right? Or A, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
B, I mean, I have Live and Let Die in the B. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have Octopussy there.
Mm-hmm.
So you put those in the C.
Yeah.
Moonraker and View to a Kill. I mean, we have them in the C- range. This is the thing. If we're going to rank these, do we want to we can't change our ratings.
No, but like, I think it's still, it's still a very different rating system to go ranking versus like A through F scale.
Yeah, you're right. I'll go Man with the Golden Gun bottom. I mean, it's got to be bottom.
It has to be at the bottom.
Yeah. View to a Kill, Moonraker, like D.
Yep.
Would you move Live and Let Die into B or no?
I think like
you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't think I would. We
can always do two separate rankings. Doesn't have to be one definitive. We're two different people, Anton.
Yeah, we are. But like, yeah, I don't think I would.
There's no right way to do this or wrong way. Some questions for you.
All right.
Which film had the least worst plot?
The least worst plot?
I say For Your Eyes Only. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's the least
It's
convoluted.
by far the easiest to follow.
Yeah, that, I mean, even Spy Who Loved Me, it's pretty easy to follow, minus the whole missile thing.
But remember, we had questions about like, why is he
Yeah.
even bothering trying to find the tracking system? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's the answer is definitely For Your Eyes Only.
Which
So.
film had the worst plot?
Ooh, I think it has to go. I mean, Man with a Golden Gun just doesn't make sense.
It was very contrived and
Yeah.
not compelling. Like the Solex agitator thing was so boring.
How it makes no sense to have a character of his master assassin level be so interested in that technology. It makes no sense.
He doesn't even understand how it works. Remember, like when Bond's like explaining the thing, he's like, "Well, if you say so, Mr. Bond." Science was never my strong point. Octopussy's plot was pretty dumb.
It was pretty dumb.
A View to a Kill's plot was pretty dumb too.
It was also pretty dumb. But you know what's funny? Moonrakers, it was pretty dumb, but it was pretty easy to follow.
Yes, and we gave Drax points for actually like thinking a lot of this out. Like Stromberg didn't in Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're gonna live under the sea like just forever by yourself. But Drax had a whole plan in place to repopulate the Earth.
Yeah,
Stromberg did not appear to have thought that out.
Stromberg didn't plan out the sexy parties.
No. I'm like, Drax just wanted to be surrounded by beautiful people. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, when you go to like a client meeting in Manhattan and you're like, wow, they're all hot, like Moonraker. Which had the best villain?
Best villain, my favorite villain was probably Christopher Lee.
Yeah. Either him or Zoran.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken.
Which isn't that so funny?
Yeah, because they're the two worst movies.
Yeah. But
yeah, Christopher Lee's he's like a top 5 villain in the series.
Yeah, he's still so menacing and still so capable, despite the fact there was definitely a lot more telling rather than showing. But I think his acting chops are just, they speak for themselves. And despite it not being a very good movie, you still respect him as a villain.
Would you say, conversely, Stromberg is the worst villain despite being in the best movie?
Yeah. Just very feeble, doesn't really do much. Not very menacing.
Best Bond girl.
Barbara Bach.
I'm going to go with Melina Havelock from For Your Eyes Only. She's a total badass. I love her story arc.
Next on my list is Jaws' girlfriend.
Dolly. Barbara Bach as Anya Amasova, Triple X, would be my number 2.
Yeah, Dolly's headlights blinded me.
It's fair. Yeah, Melina for me. I love the arc she has. The revenge plot. She uses a crossbow, which is just so badass.
It's pretty badass.
Worst Bond girl. This is an easy one for me. It's not Stacey Sutton. I'm
It's
going
not?
with Britt Eklund in Man with the Golden Gun.
Ooh, that. So there's.
Remember how cruelly they treat her? Like you feel bad for her. Like they're so mean to her in that movie, and she doesn't. Her acting not great. She doesn't.
No, it's not great. You just feel really bad for her.
She's just a ditz. She just bumbles around. Yeah, you feel bad for her. You do.
Yeah.
No coincidence. There's a lot of worsts. Man with a Golden Gun for me.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that because otherwise, like, I think that they're all pretty highly rated, or at least like not to that low.
Yeah, I think so. Best song? Would you say "Live and Let Die"?
Live and Let Die.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I want to say that you could talk me into Nobody Does It Better.
Right.
There. Like right,
Yeah,
it's
for me,
right there. But Live and Let Die,
Yeah.
I can't argue that. I can't.
Yeah, for me, Live and Let Die, and then View to a Kill. Nobody Does It Better, of course.
For Your Eyes Only is awesome too. I'm telling you, he has the best title songs, I think, of any of the actors.
So good.
Worst one, Man with a Golden Gun for me.
Boring.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that Lulu song.
Yeah.
Best pre-title sequence.
Ooh.
This is easy for me.
Yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me.
Okay.
The ski jump. I mean, it's just
It's
incredible.
It's incredible. It's also, yeah. No, that's a good point. I remember we talked about how much that sequence just like completely just blows out of the water any other title sequence before it.
It sets the tone.
Yeah.
Because you think Man with the Golden Gun, Bond's not in the title sequence. It's
No. It's just
that guy in Scaramanga's Funhouse.
Yeah.
Although he does give us the line, if you recall, "Ow, ow, wherever you are, don't hold it against me."
It was silly.
It's real
Probably.
silly. It's not good.
Yeah.
And then
Just-
Live and Let
he's a-
Die, Bond's not in that one either. It's the three guys
Mm-mm.
getting assassinated. Pretty weak.
Pretty weak.
Although we do get Ear Dynamite.
That's right. Yeah. No. Ski jump scene.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. Any other bests or worsts you think we can hit on? I had those ones written down. I thought they'd be fun to cover.
How about worst/best death? You know what I mean?
Villain death or death?
Death. Like who went out the worst?
Scaramanga's death is pretty he just shoots him in the chest. It's pretty anticlimactic. It's I don't know if it's the worst. Wait, no. What am I thinking about? The worst one is Kananga Balloon.
Kananga Balloon's pretty bad.
Because of how bad that effect was and how dumb it looked on screen.
I have to go with Drax.
Oh, his is the funniest.
It's just
Turns into the doll. It's so funny.
Twirling.
No, that one's good.
Yeah. No, it's like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's good, bad.
Well,
So,
I like the
yeah.
line he says it right before when he has Bond at laser point, and he's like, "I've been
Yeah.
looking forward to putting you out of my misery." It's a great line, but you're
So funny.
the best death. I like when he executes Stromberg. It's pretty cold blooded,
That is one of the more serious deaths in the series.
brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. I think the best death might be Zorin when he gives that little laugh just before he falls.
Oh, yeah. It's like such a commitment to the character, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what his character would. He's like.
Yeah, like he's almost excited.
And then of course
Yeah,
we get the blimp explosion that kills Mortner and Scarpine.
Max.
Remember Tom pointed out after the blimp hits the bridge and they all fall and he drops the dynamite, he puts the monocle back in first.
So silly.
Yeah, his is pretty good. Best henchman,
Jaws.
I might go with Nick Nack.
Ooh, that's pretty great.
I kill you. He's throwing
So
the wine
good.
bottles at him. You big bully.
Oh my
I get
gosh.
you. He puts them in a
That whole-
suitcase.
That whole ending sequence.
I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good, but he is so entertaining.
Yeah,
Wait for him
he's
in here.
entertaining. I always just Jaws is just so cool.
He's the most iconic henchman.
Yeah, Jaws, Baron Samedi.
The entire lineup of henchmen in Live and Let Die. You get Teehee with the hook arm. You get Whisper. Your champagne, sir. Shall I open it? Shall I open it? He's getting more mad. And then Baron Samedi. And then who's the guy on the boats in the boat chase? I think his name's Adam.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great lineup of henchmen.
Probably one of the top henchman lineups in the Moore era.
I think Moore has the best henchmen of any of the actors, right?
Yeah, it's funny when I think about it. It's like it's so memorable,
Yeah.
and part of it too. He was also in like a ton of films, so you get like a really great choice across all the films.
Even For Your Eyes Only, which is the most quote unquote serious, it has Locke, and he's an awesome henchman. He doesn't have any lines, and he makes such an impact on that film. And then Octopussy has
Gobinda, that's right. And we already talked about Mayday and A View to Kill.
And Scarpine and Dr. Mortner.
Scarpine. Yeah.
I don't think we have anything else to add, really, unless you do.
No, I don't think so. I mean, super fun to reminisce about Roger Moore films.
Yeah. This was fun. It really was. I'm glad we did this. You know, we were kicking the tires on this for a while. Like, should we do something like this? It made sense. It made sense.
Yeah, it's a good change of pace for our listeners too, and either they can hear they can hear with what we have to say and agree, or just disagree vehemently. And you know what? We welcome it.
Yeah, totally fine. And this is also, you know, part of the reason why I like doing the season recaps is it's just a way to break things up between seasons. You know, most people don't listen to podcasts with the concept of seasons in mind, but I like doing it. I like that there's a clear delineation between seasons, and we talk about the films that we covered, the future of the podcast, and frankly, I didn't want every single episode to just be a movie review. I like to do something different.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, because we should be continuously growing, changing, evolving, having some fun. And this was a nice little change up.
It was. Well, that's it for our more rankings. Like I said, I'll put a poll up to see if listeners want, more of these types of ranking episodes. I would assume they will,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see. This was fun, Anton.
Yes, it was very fun. So thank you, Pat. Good time. And it's almost sad that we won't be covering another more film, but
I know.
but we do have much more Bond.
We do. Although we're more than halfway through the Bonds at this point. Eventually, we'll cover them all because we didn't do all the Craigs, we didn't do all the Connerys. We'll get there eventually.
We already covered a Brosnan.
Officially, we didn't, but
Yeah,
but it was fun. Thomas Crown Affair. Yeah, so we say goodbye to the Roger Moore era, and the next time you hear us talking about James Bond, it is going to be us saying hello to the Timothy Dalton chapter when we talk about the Living Daylights. That is not next week's episode, though. Next week's episode is going to be another spy series, though. We're going to be talking Mission Impossible 2.
John Woo.
Woo.
Yeah.
So we will see you then. Anton, we are almost done with season 7 at this point. Just a couple episodes left.
Well, moments are fleeting, like whispers in the wind.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yep. But yeah, we'll see you next time on Why Wasn't It Better? Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.